Borg, also known as Coach. Let me do that again, just in case. This is Professor Bobby Borg, also known as Coach. And what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna talk really quickly about very simple steps for releasing your record, okay? So again, this is Bobby Borg, also known as Coach, and I'm gonna do a quick review of how to release your single. I'm gonna do this really simple and really fast, so pay attention. Here we go. Number one is the release date. You need to make sure to have your release date set, but this is how you need to do it. Number one, you need to make sure to have a mixed and mastered song ready. Take this very seriously because a lot of people don't. And what happens is they run into problems with their song and with the mastering, and then they have to go back out online and announce to everybody that they're changing the release date and all that kind of stuff. Either that or they rush the release, and that's not good to do, okay? Also, another thing to think about is why we're setting the release date. The reason why you're setting a release date is so that everything sort of happens on this date. And the whole goal is to spike the algorithm, because if everything happens on this date and people listen to the song and they don't skip it, and they listen to it for at least 3 seconds and they share it and they repeat it, right? That is going to be good for the algorithm, and potentially that's going to give you a better chance. Okay. Also, it might spike media curiosity as well. So people will see there's a little bit of action, and maybe that will encourage people to actually do something with your song. Okay. How far in advance? Usually about 6 to 8 weeks in advance is probably a best. This is going to prevent from any distribution release issues that might come up. Obviously, the distributors check your song to make sure everything is cool. If there's problems, you need the extra time. Also, it's for your playlist editorial pitch to Spotify. Typically, the more give them, the better that the curators can go through the track and kind of figure out where your song should be placed or what place potentially it could be placed. Okay, so maybe at least 4 weeks. And then it allows time for content setup. It allows you to create different videos and shorts and things like that, and get all your banners together on your websites and so on and so forth, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the more time you have to set that up, the better, okay? Also, on what day? Typically people release it on Friday. That's what's called International Release Day. The reason, just so that you know, I mean, you can release it whenever you want, but typically everything happens on Friday. So for example, playlists are updated on Friday, like you have new release Fridays. Media people and A&R people tend to scout on Fridays because they know new material is coming out. Another thing is the Billboard charts run from, actually, I think it's Friday to Thursday. Okay. So just a couple things to think about. Okay, now let's talk about the legal issues, because this is extremely important. This is a step that a lot of people typically leave out. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that there's not going to be any problems later with regards to people's ownership in the song or the masters. So the first thing you want to do is you want to talk to anyone that you might have created the masters with, or anyone that you might have created the songs with, to make sure that everybody's clear about how they're going to split. So the first thing is split by law. Split by law basically means that the splits are pro rata. So anyone that contributes to the writing, the lyric, or the melody of the song, or some substantial hook or groove, will automatically share in an equal pro rata share of the song. So if there's 5 people, you automatically get 20%, even if you contributed a very small amount. So now if you want these splits to be different, they have to be in writing. And those splits could happen any way that you want them. It's really negotiable, okay? And I've seen really everything happen. So, you just have to care about this, obviously, right? And then there's what's called an all for one for all philosophy, where even if someone doesn't write something, you cut them in just because they participated, they showed up, and you just kind of want to make them feel like they're part of it. And that's completely up to you. Typically bands would do that. Okay, and then there's profit participation. That means that somebody gets cut in as long as they are in the group, or they're in the sort of organization. And as soon as they leave, they no longer get that profit participation. You should definitely create what's called a split sheet. And a split sheet is essentially a sheet which deals with the splits and the masters and the songs. So typically you would have the song title, you would have the names of each writer, you'd have the publishing companies, the splits, like 60-40 or whatever. You would have the PRO, the Performing Rights Organization, listed, and you'd have what's called the IPI number. That's the unique number that ASCAP or BMI will give you when you register. Okay, and then everybody signs it, and you put your contact information on there and all that good stuff. You might also list what it's intended to be used for, the song. That's important as well. Okay, or you can handle this in what's called a work made for hire. That basically means you flat out pay collaborators with you, you flat out pay your producer, and it essentially you say that for this fee, you're giving up your rights and ownership in the song. Okay, that's another option. Once you do all that, you want to register your song with the Copyright Office of Washington, D.C. The Copyright Office gives you three more very, very important benefits: the rebutable presumption of ownerships, the rights to sue, and the rights to actual or statutory damages. But when you register in a timely manner, you're sure to get those rights. So in other words, as long as you register your song within 5 years of publication, you get rebutable presumption of ownership. In order to get statutory damages, you have to register before someone infringes you. You get what I'm saying? So in other words, it behooves you to register early, okay? Also, when you pre-register for publication, you get what's called a reduced fee and a group of published works registration. You get as much as 10 songs to register for the price of one. All right, what else? Okay, let's move on. Licenses, make sure that if you have any samples or interpolations that you used in your song, that you have to clear those rights with the original authors and owners before you actually release that song, because once you release it and people find out, they can demand anything from you, okay? Also, beats. If you use people's beats, be careful. I suggest buy out the rights in the beats, because a lot of these beat licenses are very tricky. They have very, very reduced things that you can do, and they also claim a share of the royalties as well. So you don't probably want that headache hanging on, okay? Other things that you might need to do, if you're gonna go under like your company name or a publishing company name or something, I can't walk into a bank and cash a check for royalties under the name Mistra Music. I need a DBA, a doing business as, to show that I'm doing business as Mistra Music. So they connect Bobby Borg with Mr. Music, okay? Trademarks, if you have a cool logo or a cool band name and you want to trademark the name, keep in mind that trademarks are based in usage and commerce. So as soon as you use them, you have a trademark limited to the geographical region in which you're using it. So now that you're actually doing business on a wider geographical region, you might want to trademark your name. In the United States, you do that through the uspto.gov website. And if you wanted to do a foreign registration, you use what's called the Madrid Protocol. Okay, as far as getting a business entity like an LLC or a C Corp, that, listen, don't do it for branding reasons because it makes you feel legit and it makes you feel cool. Because the LLC and the C Corp might cost you more money and time to run than it's worth it. So what an LLC and a C Corp does is it limits the liabilities in which something soon you can grab, okay? And it also gives you some tax benefits as well. But if you're not making enough money to sort of counter the expenses and the time, then it's not worth it. Okay, as far as distribution, now we have to talk about that. A lot of people make such a big deal about which distributor they're going to choose. I suggest you just choose the ones that Spotify approves. And Spotify actually has a page on their website called Spotify Approved Distributors: CD Baby, DistroKid, TuneCore, Too Lost, or some of the ones that are mentioned. So use those. Otherwise, you can use what's called the Borg Rule of 5. Here's the things I think are more important. Who does the distributor partner with? In other words, where are your songs going to go? Important. 2, is the platform easy to sort of look at and upload and figure out, how to use it? Promotion, do they offer promotion tools for you? Accounting, how good is their accounting, their royalty accounting services? And then customer service, okay? Preparing for distribution, at your distributor, you're going to get what's called an ISRC code and a UPC code that's going to be helpful when collecting royalties. You're going to upload your song for distribution and DSP processing. That usually is going to take a little bit of time, but requires you entering all the information possible about your career and you and the song. And that's called metadata. Submit lyrics to Lyric Find. That's to sync with Apple Music and Google and Shazam. And also start a Music Match account. That's to sync with Spotify, Instagram, and others. Then you're going to claim your Spotify for Artist. And what Spotify for Artists does is it allows you to, to brand the look of your Spotify sort of platform. It gives you pitching options. It offers you analytics, okay? In order to do that, you have to have one published song out. And then typically what it's gonna do is it's gonna ask for your Instagram or your X or your website account, and it's gonna wanna see that it has your name, your pictures, potentially the same emails that you use to register. And of course, this is it's trying to verify that you're legit. Using Spotify's playlist pitch feature, do that at least 3 and 4 weeks in advance. You can only do one song. That's the disadvantage of obviously releasing a record, but pitch your best song. The pitch questions are going to be things like, what's the story of the song? What are like playlists? What's the promotion plan? Okay, and this is all for editorial consideration on like Rap Caviar and New Music Friday. Those are difficult to get on, so probably other playlist options like algorithmic playlist options are going to be useful, like a fan's release radar, or like user-generated content that you create or fans create or podcasters create are probably going to be more likely. Okay. All right, moving on. Spotify pre-save campaigns, are these worth it? So a pre-save campaign is basically you're sending people a link and you're asking them to pre-save your song so that when it comes out, they're going to be alerted. And the whole idea is that when they're alerted, they're going to go play your song, which is going to spike the algorithm. That's what a Spotify pre-save campaign is all about. You can do that through a distributor using their tools, or you can use third-party tools like ToneDen and Linkfire, etc. Okay, and then don't forget, when we're talking about distribution, don't just go, DSPs and digital. Think about physical too, and the fact that if you want to make a little bit of an investment, you get spend $3,000 and get 100 vinyl recordings that you sell for $30 or something of that nature. You're getting your brand out there. You could sell it on your website. You could sell it on your Bandcamp account. You could sell it at your merch booth. All right, royalty connections. This could get complicated, so I'm going to keep it real simple. Royalty collections, to make it really easy, get an admin like Songtrust or Cosign and let them handle US and foreign. And then sign up with the PRO, ASCAP BMI, CSAC as a writer, and they're going to handle the publishing side, your admin, and then sign up with Sound Exchange on the master side so that you can collect iHeart and SiriusXM royalties here in the US, and then neighboring rights royalties in foreign territories. So when you sign up for Sound Exchange, you have to opt in for the foreign. Okay, and then listen, we can go, like I could do a whole video on just if you want to do DIY song collections, but you don't want to do that at first. Visual assets, make sure that when you create your singles artwork that you rep the sound and style. So when you look at the artwork, people get an idea of what the song is going to be like. Photos, high quality, and try to use a variety. Posed pictures, live pictures, lifestyle pictures. Okay, video, short form is so important these days. You could do lyric videos for long form, behind the scene videos, and collab videos. And then, of course, hook videos. You have to come up with really sharp hooks to grab people's attention and win the scroll or stop the scroll. And some of the ones people use are, I wrote this song for your next road trip, or this is what it sounds like to fall in love, or this song was written to remind you that you're good enough, stuff like that. Social media banners, make sure that all your banners on your social media, your Facebook, your YouTube, your website are all consistent, so they have a consistent look and they say things like song coming out now, that kind of thing. Okay, that's it, you guys. I hope that was helpful. Those are just some of the things you have to do, just a couple of them. So part 2 coming up, okay, you guys? Like and subscribe. Peace, love. See you later.